This is chapter 2 of this challenge, so if you haven't seen the previous chapter, there's a link in the description where the rules and progress thus far has been explained and shown, but I'm sure you can guess by the title what's going on here. So at 10.6%, we stand at the top of the Tool Hunting Trials. Talking to the groundskeeper, we learn about the fancy Hunter's Lodge in the main city of the Karja tribe known as Meridian, and that we can earn badges from these hunting grounds to not only join the lodge, but to gain prestige within it. So obviously, we get completely ran over by a grazer on our first attempt, and the second attempt after learning of a fatal error. The fact that we have exactly 0 metal shards, the things needed to craft ammo, so we had to add a very fun part to the attempts from now on. Now that we're getting into the hunting trials, I should probably explain how they work. The first of which is known as the Parts Alone Challenge, and this is where we need to knock off 10 Grazer Blaze canisters with our bow, and we've seen what happens when we chase them down, so instead I play it safe and use my handy dandy Tripcaster just to let them sit down, and it works great for the most part. However, we get a bit too confident and go for some extra kills, which I guess they were pretty mad about me murdering their friends, because remembering I have more in my arsenal other than a bow, I go in with some Tear Blast arrows, a type of arrow in our new Sharp Shot bow that upon landing lets out a loud burst of sound, knocking off parts nearby. But without the shock wires, they still get the better of us. Not having much luck with the Parts Alone trial, we move on to the Log Pile trial, where we gotta let loose bundles of logs onto machines to deactivate them. And thankfully, we have enough ammo right off the bat to complete it, meaning not only do we ace it and get 7,500 experience, but we also are granted a treasure box containing a bunch of lovely resources for us. Although apparently switching weapons on a rope causes you to fall off. So attempt 6, we make it through the log pile trial, and then attempt the third trial this place has to offer, the blast wire trial, where we need to kill grazers with blast wires. And on our very first try, we ace it, leaving us at level 13 with 5 skill points, allowing us to unlock the triple shot skill, which allows us to shoot 3 arrows instead of just 1 or 2, and the heightened reflex skill, which allows us to show slow time while aiming in the air, as well as a passive stealth skill as well. With nowhere specific to go for once in this challenge, we head north and meet Nil, a loner who enjoys killing the scum of the earth, to put bluntly. He even invites us to take out a bandit camp with him. Not far from Nil, however, our focus detects the signal of a tallneck. Tallnecks are one of, if not the largest machines of this entire game. However, it does not partake in combat and instead acts as a tool, and can even be found throughout the world in various locations for me to climb up, override, and learn their valuable secrets. So after scanning the tallneck, I learned that I'm already 12.6% done, a whole 2% thanks to a couple trials and a tallneck. Man, maybe there isn't much to this game after all. I thought, like how a child thinks school isn't so hard after their first week of kindergarten. Not too far from the tallneck, however, is another type of collectible known as ancient canisters. These are just like the metal flowers, where we simply need to move to their location, pluck them up from the ground, and move on. However, in my search for the exact location of a canister, our lovely friend, the Sawtooth, discovers us first, and without much ammo still, we get pretty body slammed into the ground. Although during our search around for the canister, I took a second to check my progress before and after scanning a data point and learned that the data points are not necessary for the 100%. Finally, finding the vessel, we head off to see what happened to the war party that was sent after the killers that attacked us at the proving, to find they had been massacred. A survivor that was still in the area, however, informs us where the other survivors are heading, progressing the main story quest. Continuing to explore the map the Tallneck gave us, we find a small village called Mother's Rise, where a young healer is in need of Dream Willow, a supposedly almost type of painkiller for her patient who is in agony, as well as a young man who is worried for her sister, Nakawa? It doesn't matter. Who went after their father's killer. Exploring the area further, we find a vantage point way above the ground and start climbing up to it just to look at the sights and fast travel down, because no way I'm getting down there without taking fall damage, and I'm not risking it. Next thing we head after is a decently easy to find ancient vessel, and then directly next to it is a bandit camp, the same one Nil invited us to raid with him, and luckily for him, it's on our 100% list, so we gotta go for it. We take the first group out pretty easy, being very stealthy and precise with our Sharp Shot bow. However, we get spotted with the second group and thrown out a window. Saving the camp for later, I decide to follow up on the Nora who were sent after the killers, and I meet up with Sonia, who immediately saves me from an angered Sawtooth with a single arrow, and then leads me to a killer campsite where we almost completely get all the killers out, but then a corrupted machine takes us out from there. Also, the thing to end attempt 11 was a single point of fall damage. And on attempt 12, I discovered a rappel on one vantage point that was high up. On the second attempt through the original mentioned bandit camp, I stayed to the ground and honestly just walked around shooting. It was a lot calmer somehow, but it worked out great, and we liberated it, giving it off to some Nora outcasts who were taken capture by these bandits. Continuing to head north, we snatch up another ancient vessel, a metal flower, a vantage point, and the fourth type of collectible called a Banuk figurine, which are just these wooden llama statues, usually up high on cliffs with strange markings marking the path to them. Clearing out the whole western region of the map of collectibles, including a metal flower, 3 ancient vessels, and 2 vantage points, was pretty easy. However, one of these vantage points was in a corrupted zone of a fire Belloback and 4 chargers. Chargers are the bull to the cow that is the Strider. They are much less passive, and although they can be mounted if overridden, they are quite restless, with their main identifying attack being to wrathfully charge into battle, with the main weakness being a blaze canister on the back, similar to the Strider, and extra damage spot in their horns. Bellowbacks are large machines with a passive nature due to their speed and size, but have a rather advanced kit when it comes to defense. There are 2 types in total, fire and frost. Honestly, they are almost identical except for what they spew among the ground, with obvious hints in their name. They wander around with insanely large sacks of their element and create massive explosions of their corresponding element once popped. Similarly, you can create a smaller explosion by popping the large vein-like pipes that make up their throat. These behemoths also have a collection of blaze canisters under their stomach, making them incredibly powerful but incredibly soft things to fight. Honestly, I thought the hard part would be the Belloback, but it turns out the chargers were so skittish that I had to chase them down, and eventually I got too comfortable, went in for the hit, and took damage at 17.5%. Also, apparently in Chapter 1, I had mentioned that these Traveler skills gave me extra loot, when in fact the Scavenger skills give me extra loot, which is part of the foraging tree. So, oops, I thought I was getting more loot, but I am now. Avoiding most things on the way back to the corruption site, I get back up to my usual tactics of bombs, and thankfully just 6 proximity mines was enough to take down the Belloback pretty well. After that, a few well-placed tripwires, normal arrows, and bam, I won the corrupted zone. Sadly, however, this corrupted zone was not completed in the final attempt, so we'll have to come back here later anyway. Because on the way home to the next thing on my hit list, I met up with Sawtooth and a buddy strolling through the wilds, and apparently the second one did not appreciate me tying up the first one. On attempt 17, I decided to explore some more into the quests, finally picking up 1 stash of the possible Dream Willow, and of course we found none, and then in the second stash, nothing. But apparently we can travel way out of our way to go talk to our friend, so we will be doing this another time. Attempt 18, we find ourselves at Mother's Crown, and a lot of things happen here, so I will try my best to summarize. A young hunter named Den asks us to find out what happened to his hunting party after they got separated. Another hunter named TM lost his grandmother's ring while hunting for boar, and 2 other hunters illuminated to a cauldron and a second hunting grounds, but no real quest. And finally, the girl who Varl sent us here to meet tells us the way to the major city of Meridian, and the fact that it's guarded by a large gate, and they won't open it due to the large amount of corrupted machines in the area, which is now the next step on our main quests to clear out these corrupted zones, so they will open it once again. The first corrupted zone we needed to clear out to progress to the gate was just 3 simple grazers, which I found suspiciously easy, but a few well-placed fire arrows take them out pretty good. Checking out the next hunting trial, I attempt one and decide it isn't worth doing right now, so I head off to a cauldron. Cauldrons are dungeons of this game, making up a large facility to roam through in search of its core. Upon finding this core, however, we are able to override it and gain the ability to override different kinds of machines. But, of course, trying to enter, we find it protected by guards. Specifically, this cauldron had 3 Watchers and 2 Scrappers standing in front of it, but I took them out half decently, and inside the cauldron we were met with 3 more Watchers and a joyride through the facility, only to be dropped off and forced to make our way through the large room in order to get to the core of the entire place. But a bunch of Watchers stand in our way, as well as a Shell Walker. Shell Walkers are medium-sized machines with a knack for electrified explosions, allowing it to not only shoot orbs of energy, but to spit out large energy blasts within a close proximity to it. However, the large shell on its back is a major weak point, as well as a wonderful treasure chest full of goodies to loot if we're able to knock it off, but with both of its electrical abilities and agile claw, it makes for a formidable foe. So formidable, however, that it uses its electric explosion to quickly... On attempt 25, we find TM's ring, shove down the throat of a boar, and get the skins that he needed while dodging around a paranoid sawtooth. Attempt 28, I finally had a plan. Instead of repeatedly failing to do things that could hurt me, what if instead we completed things that couldn't hurt me? All while training to overpower the things that could. And since Meridian is a major large trading city, with that I can only imagine has some sort of most powerful weapons in the game. And since Meridian is a large trading city with what I can only imagine has some of the most powerful weapons in the game, I decide to make my mission to travel to Meridian first and see what they have for me to purchase. After clearing out the corrupted grazers and realizing how much more walking I was going to have to do, I stopped by a small hilltop settlement where a merchant is telling me about a lost caravan of his, which of course I offer to investigate and then ignore for now because I'm on my own mission. Not far from the settlement, however, was a metal flower, which was being guarded by a group of broadheads. Broadheads are basically a reskin of a charger, giving them a more curved horn, and they are also slightly faster than chargers and prefer to enter battle with a hearty charge. So I just played some bullfighter and took them out pretty easy, snatched up the flower, and ran off to Meridian. I stumbled on a corrupted zone of 3 Watchers, 2 Scrappers, and I cannot explain how hard my heart was pumping as I took them out. I killed 4 of the 5 of them on a single hit. But that Scrapper ran across a river to come kill me. I thought I was totally screwed. Arriving at the Carja Gate, we find a Corruptor trying to take it down. And I do not care how cheese it was to take out the Corruptor like I did. If it's in the game, it isn't cheating. So I win, it dies, we're moving on. Entering the gate settlement, we talk to Captain Bahan, who tells us of the trail ahead and gives us a quest to search for his fallen men back in Nora territory, which we will also be ignoring. Also, it turns out that the merchant here sells the purple equipment we are searching for. Is it the best? I have no clue. Is it better than what I'm holding? Absolutely. So, is there more I want to collect? Absolutely. But I will take what I can get, except for the fact it costs 800 shards, which I am barely able to scrape up by selling my hard-earned loot. But I also happen to check my progress before and after purchasing such a weapon, and for some reason it went up, so I guess we need to buy all the weapons too. Correction, researching this afterward, I learned that we only need to buy the shadow weapons. Not exactly knowing what I needed to do left because I was at 18.8-ish%, I decided to visit the local tallneck, which almost gave me a heart attack because not only was this tallneck practically aquatic, but their island was swarming with snapmaws, which I do not have to explain yet because I didn't even let these things see me. But that's not even it, because I ran into a red-eyed watcher, which are just watchers with a tad more armor and health. But this one thought it was funny to play dress up because I thought it was a normal watcher, and after hitting it and realizing it didn't die, I thought I was doomed. Eventually, I did get the tallneck, and I immediately fast traveled out of there. Checking it, I was now at 20%, meaning I could save, but I wanted a little more. I wandered around for a bit, collecting TM's ring again and gathering some collectibles, heading to Mother's Crown to talk to the healer and the guy who lost their sister, investigating the massacre site, and getting more collectibles on the way. But that was until this god dang sawtooth gave me a literal heart attack. It chased me, hunted for me. I had to run around an entire giant skyscraper of a spire to avoid it. And even then, it almost killed me. But somehow, we ended up getting the last collectible in the area, made our way to the Carja Gate village to do our final trades and upgrades, resulting in us buying the golden travel pack, which allows us to fast travel without cost. Our skills look like this. The only one not discussed so far was the ammo crafter skill, which gives us 20% more ammo crafting efficiency. Basically, we craft 12 arrows instead of 10 arrows for the same amount of materials. We left off about 22%. And remember, if you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next part, and let me know what other cool things you would like to see in the comments.
Snow.